You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too. And we kind of have been talking about this for weeks, and everything's God's timing. It's happening. We'll be here Tuesdays at 11 Eastern time for the next several weeks. Health boot camp, just some tactical everyday little things that you can do to make your brain healthier, especially in times of stress, which we are unfortunately continuing living in a time of stress. And it's just wonderful to have a perspective from another brain health coach who was an acupuncturist, and you've been practicing for 20 years. You understand the brain and the body so well, and in a way that I couldn't even imagine to start looking at. So I'm really grateful that you're going to share some tips with us about how we can work on decreasing stress.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. One of the things that I think about that's happening right now in our world and our environment is we really have to focus on what our adaptability skills are and really building brain health resiliency and the ability to adapt so that we can handle the next thing that's coming. And I think so many of us have gotten stuck in the stress of whatever it is. I mean, right now, especially this time where, families are really stressed of, what's going to happen to school, what's not going to happen to school, or is it going to be virtual? Is it not going to be virtual? What are we going to do? We're going to try to work. We're going to, and there's all these, decisions and things. And there's the unknown, which is the prevalent, energy that we're living in right now is we don't know. And
Right.
So what we do know is we need to take care of ourselves. And we need to really build our ability to adapt to the next thing that comes towards us. I mean, that's what we do in nature. That's what nature does, is it adapts. So I'm just going to go over a couple tools and tips for that people can take care of, can utilize in their own life. So the first and foremost is what I'd like to do is just have everybody just take a deep breath of wherever they have been in time and space in the world, for all the people, places, and things that we have been connected to, and to let it go, and to take a deep breath in for a count of 4, and to hold for a count of 4, and to exhale like you're blowing out a candle for a count of 8. Really slow, gentle, blowing out all of the worries and the thoughts and the unknowns.
So relaxing.
And to just come in, I want you to feel like where you're, like if you're sitting down somewhere, where does your skin contact the chair? Are your arms on, chair holders? Are the back of your thighs touching the chair? Are you sitting on the ground? Are your feet on the ground? Feel where your body is in time and space and come back into your body. Right now, we are so cerebral and so worried about the future and thinking about the past that we are having a hard time being present in the moment. And this is a time, do we come out of this time period in post-traumatic stress, or do we come out of it in post-traumatic growth? And for me, I'm all going for the growth part.
I love that. Oh, so powerful.
When we think about cells, they have 2 modes. They have growth or they have death. They're either repairing and growing or they're dying. We as human beings are a community of billions of cells. So we got to decide, are we growing and repairing, or are we dying? And obviously right now, some things have to die and we have to let go of. I mean, that's, I feel like the earth is kind of shaking us humans, like we're in a snow globe and hello, people, wake up, let go of some things, shake everything up. So one of the things that I talk about is calming the spirit in Chinese medicine. And so, Fallon, what do you do for helping yourself to just be able to relax from the day or just take a moment throughout the day? What kinds of things do you do?
Well, a lot of it starts with the morning, because the morning has always been a source of stress. I used to stay up late at night worried about my morning. Can't Sometimes I would have nightmares of sleeping through my alarm and like not work and getting fired, just crazy ants, automatic negative thoughts. Oh my gosh, I didn't turn off my phone for some reason. And so I've just really focused on my morning routine since COVID started. So I wake up and I say, today is going to be a great day. Take my time drink in some water before I have a cup of coffee. And then I open up my front door. I have a beautiful tree in my front yard and I just kind of look at it, and whatever messages, it just makes me happy. It reminds me that at some point during the day, I need to be outside. I need to feel the earth on my feet. And also have a little book by Louise Hayes, who, if you don't know who she is, she's amazing for everyone watching. And I have her little Power Thoughts book. And so I open it to a page and I read one of her notes, and then I just kind of incorporate that into my day. And today was about the ocean and how it symbolizes abundance and infinite growth. So that was pretty cool. And I just texted my friends this morning that, we're going on vacation in a few weeks. And I was like, I can't wait for our vacation. It's going to be so fun. Like, I can't wait to touch the ocean. So it's kind of funny that of all the days I pulled that little nugget.
Yes, that's perfect.
And that really just sets me up for success in the day. And I think that for some people, if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed or just something happens in the morning that kind of gets you off on the wrong foot, you're more likely to get stuck in that if you don't stop it right then.
Right.
People have bad days. It started with just one little thing, and then next thing you know, it's a lot of negative experiences. The first thing that happens that's not ideal, you just need to figure out a way to kind of coach yourself through that and change the way that it's interpreting in your brain, so that you can just move on and know that that has nothing to do with how the rest of your day is going to go. So for me, just morning and any form, everybody has their different meditation practice. Mine is just related to the earth, and then having something to focus on, whether it's just a little phrase or an image.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yes, morning is key in terms of setting your day up. I think that's a wonderful point to really remember and to think about how you can manage and set things up a little bit differently. And that's the gift. That's one of the many gifts of this time period of the quarantine, is we get to shift that.
Right.
We've been on this treadmill and we think it has to look like X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't. It can look like A, Q, and G, it doesn't have to be the same thing. One of the things that I think about is, figuring out a breathing practice that works for you, that you can tap into. When I treat my clients, I suggest to them, even if it's a crazy day, go to the bathroom, shut the door, and take 3 minutes to breathe and get oxygen to the brain, so you have new thoughts and new resources to be able to pull from. But finding those touchstones throughout the day. And so another thing is just even, touching what's in front of you in terms of your desk. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it, what shape is it? What color is it? Is it smooth? Is it rough? Really getting into your body and feeling your senses. I think that's one of the other things of why, the second thing that I think about besides calming the spirit is stimulating all of our 5 senses. And so, our brain is taking in and is a filter for taking in our lives and so much information, but we need to make sure that we're not taking in the information just in one sense. So I know a lot of us are on the screens right now, and so that's very visual, some auditory, but it's not tactile. There's no smell. There's no, feeling to it. And so we need to, when we turn off the computer, we need to go touch things. We need to go, touch objects and go outside and touch the leaves and the grass and the dirt and, you know, be able to do those things.
Love that. That's so smart.
Yeah. Because you're wanting to feed in, you know, we're always looking for different thoughts and ideas. And when we get stuck on something, we have to put new information in. And via the senses, that's new input into our brain. So, you know, thinking about like aromatherapy, you know, seeing what smells, you know, really good, going outside and smelling the flowers and, you know, looking at the trees. You know, one of the things that I do in the morning that I think is really helpful for me is I go and I run my dogs in the woods, and every day the woods have changed. And I think that's why scientists have really, you know, they're doing so much research and realizing that we need to be in nature. And I think part of it is because almost every sense gets satisfied and stimulated at the same time in nature. And so, you know, if you're living in the city, then, you know, how do you live, how do you create, you know, little herb garden containers, you know, on your, you know, balcony or on the rooftop, or, you know, going to the park or whatever it is. But, you know, and especially with the development of our brains and children's brains, we have to get them outside. They cannot be on screens. This is not, they are guinea pigs right now of what's going to happen to human brain development with the amount of screen use that they've had. So we really need to get them outside. So stimulating the five senses. You know, the other thing I think about too is making sure that when we're eating, that we're eating from the five colors of the rainbow. You know, I mean, my daughter came down, she's 19, and she had gone out to a fast food restaurant against every cell in my body. And, you know, she comes in and she gets mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese. And I said, okay, I know you don't want to know about protein. I know you don't want to know about carbs. I know you don't want to know about fat or calories or anything like that. But can you add some color? Like, just figure out how to add color into your plate. Here's a salad. I'm eating a salad right now. Would you like some of my, oh yeah, the salad's really good. Yeah, I'll eat that. So, you know, I've just tried to like simplify it for her in terms of being able to get different nutrients and minerals in, because every color of the rainbow of our food has different nutrients that our brain needs, that our bodies need. So, yeah, those are a couple things.
That's huge. I know for me, the out of sight, out of mind is just something that I'm like very passionate about as, you know, an ADD coach, and just the importance of your relationship with your home. And I was talking to a friend this weekend about just how, you know, she gravitates toward the white stuff. So white potatoes, white pasta, white rice, she knows she's not supposed to have them. And I said, if I opened up your fridge, what would be the first thing that I saw? And she's like, you wouldn't like what you saw. And I'm like, even if you don't change the way that you're shopping, you change how you put things in your fridge, have the healthy stuff and the brightly colored things up front, the other stuff in the back, and you'll start retraining your mind of what to start doing, because it's going to be the first thing that you see. And when you see spinach, you see lettuce, you think healthy greens, that's right. Good for me. Not just, I just need to eat the quickest thing that I need to because I'm hungry. It's just a different mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome thing to think about in terms of, you know, just trying to make it simple to set ourselves up for success.
Right. Exactly.
That's perfect. That's awesome. I mean, and I think of, you know, in Chinese medicine, we think of in terms of food, we think of the 5 tastes as well. And so, you know, when you think of the American diet, we really don't have a lot of different flavors. We always go to the different ethnicities. You know, we go to Thai or Vietnamese or Chinese, or, you know, we go to the Italians or to French, or, you know, all these different types of cuisine in order to think about different spices. Like, we don't really have like spices that we use a lot in our culture. And so being able to utilize all of the spices in our meal is really helpful. You know, I think about the Chinese, the typical Chinese diet, they don't go for dessert afterwards. It's because they get the sweet taste in the meal itself. And so you
Yeah.
need salty, sweet, spicy, bland, and pungent in your meal. And so, you know, when you're thinking of colors, usually when you have different colors in there, you'll have different tastes. And so if your tastes are satisfied, you won't look for that sweet dessert afterwards, and you can get rid of the sugar. Like, that's not helpful. That's not good.
That's so smart. I never even thought of that.
So, yeah.
One of the only times I eat leeks is in Chinese food.
Yes.
I love it because it's just that perfect blend. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of like stimulating the five senses, the five tastes, the five colors, all of those things, of really thinking about, one of the things that I've seen too with people is just even like, what are we wearing? Like, I mean, I know I'll go for a couple of days and, wear the same t-shirt or, whatever. And then I'm like, that's not really giving me energy. And so I have to like go into my closet and go, okay, give me something that will, revive me a little bit and give me some different stimulation, because we're not typically in offices right now, and we're not in the grocery store as often, and we're not out. So we're not seeing all these different colors and hearing different accents and hearing different, thoughts and ideas and things like that. And so our brain is just, going into this like half, dead zone. And that's why, one of the biggest things that people have talked to me about with the quarantine is that they feel like time is surreal. Like it's not, you can't, there's no real schedule, and it's kind of sorta, and it's because we're not getting stimulated. And so we have to look for it. You have to go out and go, I'm going to find 5 yellow things, whether it's an inchworm or a flower or a car or, whatever. But like, you have to like think about how are you stimulating it. So big stimulation. And I think that will help with that sense of surrealness. And it also helps with, we've got to give enough input to the brain to be able to get tired at night.
Yes.
So if we're just kind of like in the same room and in the same office for 12 hours, and then we walk out and it's like, okay, then we're going to go to our bedroom, and, there's no stimulation input that way. And so we really have to think about what are the 5 senses doing. So what are your, and thinking about sleep, what are your sleep tricks and tools that you use working with clients?
So again, just trying to make the most out of my day and making the most out of the situation that we're in. So I got it looks like a walking pad because it's a treadmill, but it's very small and it doesn't have arms. Mm-hmm. I actually have that. My house is a ranch, but the front is a giant window. So I put my treadmill in my little man-made Goodwill desk. And so I can see my trees, I can see my yard, I can see cars going by, I can see people walking their dogs. Like I feel connected.
Like you're right.
Yeah. So that's been really helpful. And of course I'm getting exercise, walking, but just all of the stimulation like you were talking about. And it's kind of like symbolic. Before I start my work day, I'll spray my perfume. I'm using the same perfume for 12 years. It just smells so good to me. And I'll use my lemon essential oil. So that just kind of is another symbolism of, a positive relationship with my computer, a positive relationship with all the things that I'm going to be getting accomplished that day. I do have the night mode on my computer all the time. So that's something to look into if you aren't familiar with that, because I just can't deal with the light with the Irlen syndrome. It's just very intense. Mm-hmm. So that's really helpful. So by the end of my workday, which is usually around 6 or 7, because I'm working a lot with the West Coast too, I can start, getting ready to go for a walk with my dog and doing a couple things in the yard, eating dinner. And then by the time, I'm reading a book and then I can go to bed at like 10. Kind of gotten into a good routine, but I definitely do try to change things up just so that it isn't so stale. And because of how I set up my little desk, I can kind of move it around different parts of the house and look at different parts of my street and stuff like that. So that helps a lot, but definitely changing. And I totally relate to a need of color, going from wearing dresses and kimonos every day, which is pretty much all that I wore, to, yoga pants and a tank top has been really fun because I get to pick out different colors and, today I have like a couple of little flowers on it, but I'm wearing a lot more solid, which is great because I used to wear things that were really busy. And so just there's like little things that when I think about talking to them, to people like you, it definitely helps just making little changes and seeing how they have an impact on your day.
Yeah, absolutely. And and just, when people have a hard time making a decision, the easiest way to make a decision is good feels good and bad feels bad. You don't have to like justify why the bad feels bad. Just let that go. Good feels good and go with that, because that's trusting your gut and your intuition and your spirit. And when you're having a hard time making a decision, even if it's like picking out your clothes or picking out food when you're going to the grocery store, like before you pick it up off the shelf, like is that going to like feel really nourishing to you, or is that just going to be a quick fill? And so you really want it to feel yummy and fabulous. So I'm not the greatest cook in the world. I'm not even close to a good cook in the world, but I shop on the outside of the grocery store, meaning like I go for the veggies and the meat and the fish and, a little bit of dairy and that, but I really don't want to eat anything that's in the middle because it's got preservatives and it's got, all sorts of stuff that makes it stay really long in the pantry. I grew up in France when I was little, from 3rd grade to 6th grade. And we used to go to the bakery every day. We used to go to the market every day, and we just would get what we would eat for that. And it was fresh and it was delicious and it was good. Like it wasn't fancy, but it was fresh. And it was, so, as much as possible to get away from bags and boxes and cans of food, kind of things. I mean, there's a time when I'm on a frozen pizza, gluten-free, thing that I'll throw in because of time. But, 90% of the time I try to make sure that I've got, all those colors. So in thinking about sleep, and you had said you like to go to bed about 10 o'clock, one of the things that a lot of people don't know about is that our cortisol is released at different times during the day. And so that gives us energy. Like for adults, typically in the morning, our cortisol will drop in the morning around 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. And then and then one more time during the day. And then at night, it's usually in the 10 o'clock range. And so what happens is if we stay up past 10 o'clock, we get our second wind. But here's the thing. That's not good to be going and doing everything. When I was a single mom, I was like, okay, great. I know I'll get a second push at 10 o'clock and I can make lunch and I can, do the laundry and I can do this and I can do that and all of this. Well, what I didn't realize is by burning through all of that, I wasn't repairing from that day. And at nighttime from 10 to 12, 10 p.m. to midnight, that's our strongest repair time for our brain and our body. Wow. And so we want to be like, not even like lights out by 10, like lights out by like 9:45 so we can be asleep by 10, is the ideal goal. And, if you're going to bed if people are going to bed at like midnight, you want to slowly like do it in 15-minute increments, to back up to be able to get to 10 o'clock. So you do a couple nights, you go to bed at 11:45 and a couple nights at 11:30 and a couple nights at 11:15, and you just keep backing up by 15 minutes every few days so you can get the new cycle in your system to be able to sleep. Because the nighttime is the only time that the brain gets washed like that. It gets rid of toxins, it gets rid of, emotions that need to be released. That's when short-term memory gets transferred into long-term memory. I mean, that's when all the good stuff happens, and we need to set ourselves up for success. And so getting to sleep, and especially on that regular schedule, is so vital to be able to adapt throughout the day. Those days that I don't sleep good, it's a hard day, and man, the salt falls off the table, and that is not a good thing. It's not, it's a big deal. Whereas, on those days when you get sleep, the salt falls off and you're like, oh, bummer. And you pick it up and you go on. You don't even think about it because you're adaptable. You can change. But if you don't get sleep, it's hard to adapt. It's really hard to adapt. So.
Yeah, I've always been a good sleeper, which I'm super grateful for.
That is so good. That is so good. I work so much with insomnia for people. One thing that is really helpful, that's a helpful tool or trick, is if you have trouble falling asleep, or if you're waking up throughout the night, is to just lay on your back and cross your hands on your arms, and then cross your legs as well, and breathe, and put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and just breathe like that for a little while. So when you're in that position, there's more blood flow going to the heart, and your brain is getting the signal, if you're like that you are safe. Think about it. If somebody is holding you, this time you're holding yourself, you feel safe. And your brain cannot shut off from a busy day if you do not feel safe. So you've got to figure out a way, when you walk into your bedroom, do you feel safe? Do you feel calm? Or is it like, there should not be like oranges and reds in your bedroom that's stimulating. You want whatever color feels soothing and relaxing to you. But, a good exercise to do is to stand up at your doorway of your bedroom and look around. Like, I got like stacks of books on my bed, and every couple days I have to tuck them away where I won't see them, because otherwise I'm like, oh, I should be reading that, and I really want to take in that information. But is there clutter around? Is there some furniture in there that you don't love? Is it, did you get something, that your parents passed down to, or a great aunt passed down to, and you're like, you walk by and you don't really think about it, but you just kind of, your body just kind of contracts a little bit. When you look into your bedroom, is it a haven of safety for you? So that's, it's a feng shui thing of, thinking about your environment, of setting yourself up for success for sleep. So.
I love that. Yeah. Cause a lot of people don't understand too, that like your bedroom is only for sleeping and sex. Right. It's just for anything else. So there's no reason to have things in there that remind you of activities that you need to do.
Right.
Sitting, watching TV or checking the news.
No screens. Yep.
Makes me sick even thinking about it. I mean, it's really a safe haven where you only have those two activities. So if doing other things in there, I would definitely consider how they might be affecting you emotionally, physically, etc.
Absolutely. I mean, think about like, the cover on your bed and the color of your sheets. And, I mean, I have seen, and I've talked to, I mean, I'm doing a big purge right now of items in my house. And, I've talked to Goodwill as I've been dropping things off, and I'm like, are you guys seeing an uptick in donations and everything? And they're like, oh yeah. I mean, you can go to Goodwill and get, a colorful different, sheets or, fabric or, whatever it is, but it makes a difference. Like if you walk into your room and you smile and then drop your shoulders, that's when you've set yourself up for success. So sleep is crucial.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You shared so much powerful stuff today. Not that I doubted you for a second.
Well, I'd love to hear, as you know, when people are on Facebook and everything, of what questions they would like to get answers to. Since I'm an acupuncturist, I practice brain health and German New Medicine, and integrate a lot of different things and worked with a lot of practitioners. I had a wellness center that we had 14 different practitioners. And so I know a lot of different modalities and, you know, a lot of things that, you know, people are in pain or they're suffering and they don't know where to turn. And so we can answer those questions here of helping people to resource and get to where they need to go. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why we're doing this, guys. It's been anything we can to educate, support. This is our first series. We'll be doing every Tuesday at 11 Eastern. So if you have any insight about what you would like us to focus on in the coming weeks, please let us know.
Yes, absolutely. And keep connecting with your people. Keep connecting with your people.
Definitely.
And if you're not able to phone or be in contact with them physically, you know, find ways to be able to, you know, even if it's, you know, right now, especially if you have time on your hands to be able to visit, you know, assisted living and nursing homes, and all of those people feel so separated and so abandoned. And even if you're just smiling through a window, you know, and sending out good luck to them, that will make such a difference. So
Pen pals are making a comeback.
yes, absolutely.
I love, because I had pen pals my entire childhood, and it was
Yes.
just, there's nothing more fun than getting mail too. That's been something else that I've been trying to do, is just sending a little note in regular mail, just thinking you, love you, can't wait to see you, whenever that is.
Totally, absolutely. And there's something cathartic about writing, you know, versus typing.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I think it's, you know, for women, it is really good for our brains to be able to write our emotions and our feelings out. And so we had, when I lived in France, we had pen pals, and would always send it par avion, and, you know, in the special, you know, send it across the ocean envelopes and everything. And I loved it. It was great. I'm glad it's coming back. I think the texting and everything else is just such a quick, it doesn't give you that emotional connection that we're seeking. And so, you know, a lot of people are getting pets and fostering pets and adopting pets. And I think that's so important right now, especially for those of us who, you know, are living by ourselves and that kind of thing. I mean, I know my dogs are my lifeline to silliness and happiness, and it's a good thing. So always looking for connection, of how can we find connection.
Yeah, my babies are very happy with me being home.
Yeah. Well, I know, you know, you had shared in one of your other Zooms that I've still thought about is, you know, as much as possible, even if you are with loved ones, even to take a walk, 45 minutes holding hands.
Yes.
And connecting that way to build the oxytocin and the good feeling chemicals in our brain. You know, and I think about that when I talk to people too, of, you know, are you connecting in that way? We are meant for touch and everything else. And, you know, I think the virus has really freaked people out to be able to do that. And we're meant to be able to adapt to it. And so, you know, making sure we have strong connections with one another, I think is really important. So.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. I am so excited to continue doing this with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any last insights you wanted to share?
Just think about finding ways to find I do have actually one more thing I want to talk about for a minute. Finding ways to find your power. And so thinking about even, you know, I have my clients draw a circle and writing in what's in their circle of control. And so thinking about, and then writing outside around the circle, what's out of their control. And because we really need to feed people's power center so that they can be resilient and be able to adapt to the environment. And so, I think of, most people, all of us, can write pandemic on the outside of the circle. And on the inside, we can write wear a mask, social distancing, connect with friends over Zoom, do, pen pals, whatever it is. But there's so much in our control, and we keep focusing on all the stuff that's out of our control. And when we do that, that lowers our immune system, and it lowers our brain's ability to find answers and to find the next step. And so really focusing on that circle of control, and writing more and more things, as we go through the day. I've got control over my breakfast. I've got control over my lunch. I've got control if I take this phone call or I don't, there's a lot of things that we have control over, and to keep focusing on that which we don't is not going to empower us to be able to move through this and thrive. We want to thrive. We don't want to just survive. That's baloney.
Totally.
Yeah, we want to thrive. So, okay, just wanted to say that.
Well, and I was just like kind of putting a cumulative of everything that you shared, because it was just so much amazing information. And I was like, what do I do well? What can I work on? And it's funny because we have that new vitamin C, the liposomal, and it's orange, obviously, orange creamsicle. And I also do that right before I get on a Zoom call or start checking my emails first thing in the morning. So orange, which is the color of creativity and birth, and I kind of keep that in mind while optimizing my immune system. So it's like a win-win.
Absolutely. That's perfect. That's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I will see you next Tuesday.
All right. That sounds good. Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome.